Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 21. Today is another solo episode, and you'll be hearing from yours truly. Today, we're going to talk all about quitting. When should you quit? How to stop quitting? Why you quit in the first place? We'll address all those things, so let's go ahead and jump in. Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I'm glad you're here. We are all striving to be confident, bold, and authentic so we can live a life that we are passionate about. Today is going to be another solo episode, and I'm so excited to talk to you. We are going to talk all about why you quit your goals, how to stop quitting, like what you can do so that you don't keep giving up, and when is it a good time to quit? But before we dive in, I want to take a second and talk about reviews. For those that have left a review on the Ordinary to Badass podcast on Apple Podcasts, I am so grateful for you. So thank you so much. And I wanted to spotlight someone who took the time to leave a review for Ordinary to Badass. And that would be Abby L. Abby, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate your review. Abby said, "Important topics for young women to grow on. I am really enjoying this space created to discuss difficult topics in an authentic manner. A great resource for those seeking to grow their power from inside out." Abby L., that warms my heart. I'm so grateful and so excited that you're listening to this and that you think that it will help other women. I'm always so honored when people take the time to share it with other women that they think would find it helpful. But also when they go out of their way and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much, Abiel. I look forward to future conversations and I hope that you enjoy them. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the show because I know you're going to love today's episode. It's another solo episode and it's all about quitting our goals. Do you ever get tired of starting and stopping? Starting and stopping? If you're anything like me, you want so badly to stay consistent. But it can be so freaking hard. You get into a rhythm and you're doing well for a couple days or a week or two, and then once you fall out, it's so hard to get back into the rhythm. So it's a struggle. Sometimes your motivation easily passes. And then what do? You feel like you're back at square one. In the past, I have found that very frustrating. I haven't mastered the art of keeping motivated, so I often look to those around me who I feel like have mastered it, or if they're one step ahead of me even. Okay, how did they get there? What are they doing? I try to reflect on what's working for other people, and then tweak it, figure out what would work for me. First, notice what you're paying attention to and focusing on. If you focus on the hard stuff, the negative stuff, the negativity, that's what grows in your mind. You begin to dwell on it. It can be self-defeating. It makes you want to stop before you even start. I know I used to do this all the time with dieting. I was overweight, probably 70 pounds overweight, 80 pounds overweight. And I just sat there and dwelled on how hard it was going to be, how long it was going to take, all the negative stuff, all the bad stuff. And that never helped me progress forward because I would go one day in and quit. I'd be like, I can't do this. This is too hard. I would beat myself up for one wrong decision and then go back completely the other way and eat just flat horrible and be done. but I would focus on the negativity. I would focus on the hard stuff and how long it would take for me to get to where I wanted to go. According to Psychology Today, we can become stronger by challenging our weaknesses, even if at first we don't succeed. Increasing resilience, both mental and physical, is an arduous process that's rarely linear. That is, the process is filled with starts and stop periods to progress and periods of regression. And that was from Psychology Today. So become okay with starting and stopping. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Really, you don't have to get anything done in a set amount of time. If you're doing something that you love or you're doing something to better yourself, the overall goal is for it to be lifetime. And when I have focused on the short results, then I lose. I go back to square one. Have you ever wanted to lose weight for a wedding or an event or even for vacation? So then you try super hard, lose all that weight, and then the event's over and you're left feeling at a loss. You didn't have a big enough reason to keep going, or you didn't have a reason to keep going because that incident or event already happened. And so now you start eating crummy again. So if we really want to change something or to better ourselves, don't we want it for the long-term goals? We want those long-lasting results that are going to be sustainable habits, something that we can do long-term. But also, why when we stop a goal do we figure that we're done? Like, say I had a goal to start a business and then I stopped for a week. Why can't I start back up? Maybe instead of considering it a stop, we just consider it a pause. I think that we need to give ourselves more grace. If we take a break for a week, if we take a break for a month, okay, it was a pause. It doesn't mean you have to be done forever. Instead, if you're anything like me or like I have been, it's beating yourself up for taking that pause. And then you felt like a quitter and then you're starting all over again. But maybe you just start, you pause when you need a break, and then you go back to it. I believe that if we keep going back to it, that the next time you go back to it, it'll be a little bit longer. And then you pause and you go back to it in a little bit longer. I think that your focus or motivation increases the more you work at it or practice it. But it's not an overnight thing. It's not something that just happens. You just get better at it. You just get better at it as you get more experience, which is like most things in life, right? So consider, how do you want your life to look? And set your goal, if you will, around that, or set things that you want to do around how you want your life to look. And then be okay with the pauses. Don't beat yourself up for the pauses that you take. Another thing that we do is we zoom in on our fears. According to HuffPost.com, we fail because we magnify our fears more than our abilities. Have you ever wanted to do something that seemed terrifying to you? The thought of doing it made you freak out and totally doubt yourself? Then maybe you started dwelling on the fear, all of the things that you would have to do to make your dream happen. At that point, it probably seems pretty darn impossible, right? When negative thoughts come into your mind, you might want to consider all of the possible outcomes or all the positive outcomes. Think the exact opposite of what you were thinking. This is going to come as no shock to you, but I am such a fan of writing things down. So create a list of all of the positive things that could happen if you accomplish this dream. All of the positive attributes that you have that'll help you get to this dream. Like if you're persistent, that's going to help you get to the dream. If you're just going to do it consistently, cool. That's another thing. Or if you're simply just going to be positive and keep looking at it positively, or you're going to learn, you're going to grow, just write all of those things down. Then you have a list that you can read regularly. Anytime those negative thoughts start to creep into your brain, then you take a chance and look at your and you look at your list. Maybe you have to read it a couple of times. That's okay. I've shared this before, but I meditate for about 10 minutes every morning. Sometimes it's just 5 minutes, but my goal is 10. The first 5 minutes are dreaming of my ideal life, thinking of all of the positive outcomes that I want to occur. How I'm going to feel, what I'm going to say to myself when I accomplish those big dreams. And this helps to cement the positivity into my mind. Actually, I no longer think of the negative so much. If I fail, then I fail. Like, yeah, it sucks a little, but I just try to pick myself back up and go. Or I'm like, this is just something that had to happen in order for me to get to my big dream. Now, I 100% have not always been this way, but from changing my mindset, changing my thinking, doing the meditation in the morning, definitely has helped in the last 3 to 4 years to get over some of the small hits. But again, I'm human. I'm still going to feel it. It's just not the same daily thinking that I used to do. It's a lot more positive and future-minded than I ever was before. Last week, we talked about James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. And I got to tell you, I am totally loving that book. I don't know why I didn't come across it sooner. But in an interview, James said we set resolutions and think that the outcome is the thing that needs to change. When in reality, it's the process that needs to change. The system, the habits behind it have to change. So maybe focus more on small daily habits that you can do as opposed to the long-term goal. Like, you can know what you want, but what is the small, tiny goals that are going to take you to get there? What kind of person do you have to become? Consider doing things for 2 minutes. If you're only thinking of the goal, the big long-term goal, but you change nothing about the stuff in the meantime, you change nothing about your daily habits, then chances are you aren't going to get to that long-term goal. So that's why we quit, according to James, is we focus on the goal, the final outcome, but we don't focus on any of the millions of habits that can get us there. We have to change the daily version of us to get the long-term version of who we want to be. So what do you think? Did any of those resonate with you? Let's do a quick review. You are quitting because you are paying attention to the bad or the negative things. 2, you are starting and stopping. Starting and stopping. Are you cool with that? Or maybe just starting and pausing. 3, you are magnifying your fears more than your abilities. Or 4, you're quitting because you're thinking of the outcome, not the habit. Now, let's transition and talk about some things or some ways not to quit. Let's find some solutions for not giving up. First, instead of giving up too quickly, shift your outlook. Shift to an outlook that pushes you forward by focusing on the good outcomes of your efforts, even if you haven't yet achieved the desired results. And Vine Healthcare said that, and actually I talked about that a little bit earlier when we talked about what you're putting your attention on, and I gave the example of like the visualizations that I do in the morning. So just really pay attention to what outlook you have and focus on the desired results, not all the bad things that could happen or the negativity or the problems that you'll have along the way. Author Brendan Burchard, and he wrote the book High Performance Habits, says we lose touch with what we want and forget about them. Forget about those things that we love. He says you could stick to your goals by doing the following things. A, bring back visualization of the goal accomplishing and then revisit it often. So have a regular routine of thinking about accomplishing your goal. And that doesn't even have to be like a morning meditation or visualization like that, but you can write it down and then just read that often. And I used to think that was so crazy. I remember thinking like, who would do that? Who has time for that? That's nuts. Because I had heard about people that had reviewed their goals first thing when they woke up in the morning and before they went to bed at night. But now I can actually understand that. And although I only do it officially one time a day, it still has a huge impact. But if you do it once a week, that's okay too. everything doesn't have to go from 0 to 100. I think that if you just do it where you can, whenever you think about it, try to make it a purpose to think about it. Even, like I said, even if it's every Sunday, sit down and dream a little, right? And then maybe you'll get to where you want to do it more often. Maybe you want to do it twice a week or 3 times a week. But don't put so much pressure on yourself about actually having to do it 2 times a day when you wake up and when you go to bed. Just try to do it once in a while and then go from there. That's better than nothing, right? Okay, now let's talk about the second thing that Brendan says that you should do. He says revisit your past and future weekly goals by rating yourself every Sunday. So every Sunday, sit down and look at the past week and how that went and rate yourself how you did on moving towards your goals. And then look at the upcoming week and what do you want to do? And that's what you can look at the following Sunday is you look at the goals that you wrote the previous Sunday. And third, Brendan suggests that you get social support. If you want to accomplish a goal, he suggests that you talk to other people, that you have friends and families, but you let them know what you're doing. So they might bring it up to you. Now, I would caution you on this. Make sure you have a supportive group of people around you. Make sure that you're telling somebody who's going to support your dream and your vision, not somebody who's going to knock it down. If you're just starting on pursuing something, what other people say to you, especially in the beginning, is very important. So really choose wisely who you want to talk to. And if you don't have those people or you want more in your life, join the Ordinary to Badass Facebook group. We would love to have you in there. Another thing you can do to stop quitting your goals is to focus on progress, not perfection. Are you moving the needle forward at all? Are you moving the needle forward at all? It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't need to be momentous gains. Progress is progress, my friends. If I had waited for perfection, I never would have started Ordinary to Badass. I wouldn't have done the blog or any social media because I didn't have a clue how social media worked. I certainly wouldn't have started this podcast, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. I would have wasted my time trying to be perfect. All the while, I probably would have been sitting there beating myself up for not starting. And I would be missing out on all of the experience I have gained. The experience that I have gained in the past year has been invaluable. And personally, I would take experience over perfection any day. Sometimes you just got to get your hands dirty, get in the arena, and get it done. Who cares if it's not perfect? You're still out there, you're doing it, you're doing more than other people. But also, if you're doing more than you did yesterday, that's pretty freaking cool, right? So give yourself some grace and some credit, because let's be honest. If this was your friend doing the same thing, you'd probably be right there cheering them on. Why not give yourself the same courtesy? Cheer yourself on a little. So to recap, how you can stop giving up. 1, you can shift your outlook. 2, you can use Brendan's method of bringing back visualization of goal accomplishing and revisit it often. B, revisit the past and future week's goals by rating yourself every Sunday. C, by getting social support. And then the third thing is you can choose progress over perfection. Now, let's shift and talk about when you should quit your goals. Quitting is not always a bad thing. Now, I know there's a quote by Michael Jordan that says, if you quit once, it becomes a habit. Never quit. I get the point there, like not to stop, not to give up, because then it becomes easier to stop and to give up again. But I don't necessarily agree. There's a quote by Asai Emakpe Lasisi, and I'm sure I mispronounced that name altogether, but he wrote the book Impossible is Stupid. And he says, quitting is not giving up. It is choosing to focus your attention on something more important. And I think that that's something we might want to focus on. Maybe quitting isn't always a bad thing. There is a time to quit. There's times where it might be better for you to quit. So the emotionmachine.com says you should quit when your values and priorities have changed. You no longer want to you no longer want the thing that used to light you up. It You're human. That's okay. If your interests change or you're trying to do something to better yourself and then you find, "Oh, this really wasn't for me." What is wrong with that? I take that as a learning experience. If you weren't out there in the arena trying to figure things out, you would never learn. So that's the whole point. Getting in there, doing the work, finding things that you are interested in. And then when you're doing it, you might find you no longer like it or it doesn't give you the same satisfaction that you thought it would give you. That's okay. That's the whole point. So don't force yourself to keep doing something just because you started it. If it no longer aligns with who you are, then throw it out like a hot potato. I don't know that people still say that anymore, but whatever. We'll go with it. In one of the first few episodes of the podcast, I interviewed Judy Carter. And that was on this podcast, and it was called The Message of You. And Judy said, quitting, if it's done in a conscious way, is much better than not quitting. She said, it's better to quit and do something that is more in line with your passion. Are you wasting your time on someone else's dreams? Doing what other people think that you should do, but it doesn't light you up? Then quit right now. I beg you. Don't put any more effort into something that you no longer want to do or that is somebody else's dream. This is your life, and you only have one chance to live it. If someone else wants that dream, and they are telling you to go for it, guess what? Give it to them. Tell them they can have it. One of my mentors, Jeff Goins, had to say this several times before it actually clicked into me. But if you are going about your life doing something that you don't want to do, that doesn't light you up, then you're just spinning your wheels. You're just going to keep spinning your wheels over and over again, not being happy, not being satisfied, because you know there's something else out there for you. So make that decision now. We are in a new decade, people. Imagine if you made the change now, how different your life could be at the end of the decade. I think you'd be shocked how different your life could be at the end of this year if you just started to make the simple changes, doing what you loved, and letting go of the crap that doesn't serve you. The stuff that doesn't light you up, that you don't want in your future. You're just doing it because you don't want to quit. That's okay. I'm giving you permission right now. For the stuff you don't want to do, you're a grown-ass woman. Quit. That's my challenge to you, is quit doing the stuff that you don't want to do. And quit the things that are not lighting you up and no longer serving you. The choice is yours. There is no right or wrong answer here. Actually, I'm going to take that back. There is a wrong answer. If you are tired of the life that you are living and the direction that you are headed, then make a change. Start today. Either start something and be determined not to stop doing it. Only press pause, don't stop, press pause. Or drop something that is weighing you down. Now, Lance Armstrong, he says pain is temporary, quitting lasts forever. What do you think? Does quitting last forever? With that, we'll start winding down on this episode. I would love for you to respond to this podcast episode and let me know what you thought. Either respond on Instagram at Ordinary to Badass, or if you liked this episode, leave a review. I would be so stinking grateful if you left a review on Apple Podcasts. Be kind of like Abiel that we talked about in the beginning of the episode, who graciously left a review. I would love to hear what you're thinking, what's helping you, what else you want to hear in the future. I'm always striving to give you quality information and stuff that you can learn and grow from. And just like you, I'm in the arena trying to figure the whole thing out. And if I don't know the answers, I'm going to do just like I did today. I'm going to start looking to influencers or authors, just anybody who has done it and gone before me. And then I'm going to try to put into practice what they've taught or what worked for them and tweak it and make it my way. Also, don't be afraid to jump in on ordinarytobadass.com and sign up for our newsletter. I write weekly newsletters that come out every Friday, and I think that you'll really enjoy them. And if we're being honest, I think that I am a better writer than I am a speaker. Maybe that comes from being an introvert, or maybe it comes from being a child and always dreaming of writing books, and I was in young authors. But anyway, I digress. If you want to sign up for the Ordinary to Badass newsletter, go ahead and go to ordinarytobadass.com and just sign up today. But again, let me know what you thought of this episode. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon, friend.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.